Hey, ladies, welcome to another podcast of Mommy Never Takes a Break. And today we have another special guest with us. You heard from Ezra last week, and today I have with me Zanny Davis. She's a Christian mindset coach for first-time mamas, and she's going to share with us today her experience with hypnobirthing and how she used her mindset to not only overcome the fears around childbirth, but also to start a new business being a first-time mama. So let's sit back and enjoy this discussion. Hi, Zanny. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for that introduction. And yes, hypnobirthing is a very unique terminology. And I feel like a lot of medical people in the medical field don't really believe in it because it's very like an alternative to medication and medicine, right? In the medical field. So the term for it and the definition of hypnobirthing is it's a natural pain management technique that uses deep therapeutic techniques to help you with a positive birthing experience. So you use like deep breathing, affirmations, declarations, relaxation, all of those like very alternative things for you to have a positive birthing experience. And yes, you are right. It actually helps to eliminate, but overcome the fears when it comes to childbirth. And really and truly, my journey started with like just hearing negative stories, right? I remember when my husband and I were thinking, I was deciding that we're going to start for our family. The first thing that came to mind is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I want to have a horrible birthing experience. I don't want to be in labor for like 36 hours. I hear people's stories that's just so traumatic. And I just was like, God, I don't want to have that experience at all. Mm-hmm. And then God just led me to this path, actually.
Awesome. So cool. So how did you get into it? Like, where did it start? Was it the first trimester, second trimester? Was it beforehand?
Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about the backstory about hypnobirthing and how I got into it. So firstly, this was probably in 2016 when I was living in Cyprus. We were not planning on having a little family just yet. I think my husband and I were married for like 5 years about. So we are military, because if you're listening, my husband's military. And so we've been moving around. We lived in Germany, lived in Cyprus, and now we're in the UK. And so I was in Cyprus this time in 2016. It was just my husband and I. He was busy. I was, working a 9 to 5. And I was just having this really casual conversation with one of the ladies. And she was like, how is it that you guys don't have a child as yet or whatever? And I opened to her. I said to her, like, to be honest, I really don't want to have a horrible experience. I'm very scared about childbirth and the whole pregnancy thing. And at the time, I was very much into yoga. I'm not anymore. But before then, I used to do a lot of yoga. I used to do a lot of relaxation. And my personality within itself is very laid back, very calm and everything. And so she said, there's this thing called hypnobirthing, and I think it would be perfect for you. That's the words that she said, right? And I was like, what? Tell me more. And so she started to share with me that she did hypnobirthing, that it was so natural and you didn't have to do anything. There was no medication and there was no pain. And I was like, tell me more. This is something amazing. This is something magic. I want it, right? But I just filed it in the back of my head. As I said before, we weren't pregnant, we weren't trying or anything. And then fast forward now, I think this is probably like a year and a half after that, we moved back to the UK. And then we were trying, my husband and I were trying now for over like a year to get pregnant. It wasn't happening. And so we eventually did get pregnant. So we're in the UK now, and I was in my midwife's appointment. I think this was like really early, but I think it was probably like the third appointment or something. And she said to me, just out of the blue, I didn't mention anything to my midwife or any of this. Like, it's just crazy. And she just said to me, Zanny, there's this program that we offer in our hospital here in the UK. It's not very popular. It's very alternative. But we have this course being offered in our hospital here in this area. And it's called hypnobirthing. And I think it would be perfect for you. The same terminology my friend used a couple years ago. So I was like, my mouth was like hanging loose, like open. I was like, oh my goodness, if this is not God, I do not know. So I started really and truly the ideal time to start the program. And the program is basically, it was a 6-week course and it was run at once per week in the hospital. So you would go with your partner or you would go with somebody. It's recommended that you kind of have a partner, birth partner. At the time, my husband wasn't even there. He was overseas. My sister came up from the Caribbean to be with me. I was like, pray for the birth, which thing, but it's leading up to it, he wasn't there. So with my sister, so we went for 6 weeks. And basically you meant to start it like around your 6 months, not too early, but not too late as well, because the program, it basically takes you through the physiology of birth. So you kind of see the process. For those of us not in the medical field of biology, it's kind of really good to see like how the baby, develops and how it works down in the uterus and all of those things. It kind of just shows you. So you have a better understanding of what's happening with your body, instead of you just thinking, I'm just feeling pain and the baby's coming out. You kind of see the process. And so that was the first course, physiology. And then a little bit, so you do the psychology of it, your mindset and like your mind with the fears that you had. Then it also had like practical things that your partner can do to help you to relax. It was really, really good course, one that you just kind of just learn that. Like from the old school, when you think about like people back in the days when they didn't have hospitals, it was kind of like that. Just relax place, making sure it's a warm, dark place where you can feel comfortable, privacy, all of those things it really helps you with. But the whole point of hypnobirthing is the programming. And the programming is just some affirmations that you just listen to and you just kind of like, it's just simply saying like affirmation, like my body was created to give birth. God created my body to give birth naturally. So just listening to stuff like that. Like when you feel the contractions, it's a sign for your baby is ready to meet your baby and all of that. So yeah.
Very cool.
So it was 6 weeks. The course was 6 weeks. And over the 6 weeks, we were just learning, like, as I said before, the physiology of birth. And we were learning how to relax and just like simple things like that. But then you get homework. So every night you were just told to just listen to these audios. And the audios were just affirmations, just saying simple things like my body was created to give birth. I'm going to have a wonderful birthing experience. My baby is stuff when it comes to childbirth. My baby is ready. My baby is perfect. And like exit my body. All of these positive things. All you do is just listen to it. You just press play while you're sleeping. And that is just the practice. You just have to remember to press play and listen to it. And that is just it. Because with the subconscious mind, that is what is happening, right? It's being reprogrammed even when you sleep. And the best time for you to infiltrate the subconscious mind is when you're just about to go to sleep or when you're just about to wake up. That is when it's most open, right? And then you listen to that because your body and your mind is already being reprogrammed. When it's time now to give birth, it's like it remembers everything, right? Because hypnobirthing is a proactive form of birthing instead of a reactive, where the medical field is all about reaction. Like if this doesn't go wrong, right, we'll do this. But hypnobirthing is more like, let's prepare so that when that time comes, your body and your mind already knows what to do. And I went, and it really does work, because I then went on to give birth within 3 hours naturally for my first child, my first birth. And it was just mind-blowing to me. It was just amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that is mind-blowing. For sure. To just listen to something every day or every night, as you were saying, and letting that really transform your mind to prepare for something. Because I know that when I was trying to practice that, and I was having to actually practice, but I was practicing it during the labor, okay? So by that time, it's too late. It was late. But I was trying. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it was just
what am I supposed to do?
Really hard to fathom. I'm like, but there's pain here. Like I'm supposed to ignore pain, So it really is crazy how we can just change our mind, change our mindset from something, not even something that we think about, but something that we're actually physically feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? I love to, and this is how I explain hypnobirthing to everyone. That makes it really simple for people, is that I like to still think about, like, give a simile or like an example, right? So for example, like, let's say you're driving home from work, right? You are not necessarily sitting in your car going like, okay, I'm turning left at this street and then I'm turning right on crossroad and I'm doing the roundabout. You're not mentally thinking about what you're doing. But you may be thinking about what you're cooking for dinner. Next thing you know, you're at home, right? So that's like your subconscious mind is already automated. Like it's like you put it into your GPS home address and it just takes you home. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't think to stop and say like, oh, which way I'm going to go. And that's how the mind works, right? Your subconscious mind is already an automation. And that's where your beliefs, your emotion, all of these things are stored. And so what you're doing with something like hypnobirthing is that you're reprogramming that. So all the fears that you had around childbirth because you saw these horrible movies, you heard these horrible stories, you reprogram that into automation now to know that your body is created to give birth. You know that God already created this. It's going to happen naturally. You know, all of those positive things. And therefore, your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what is made up. It just knows that something is happening, right? And so you're reprogramming that. It's like it's already done it before. So when you're actually in childbirth, it just switches in because it's an automation. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the power of how the mind works. And this is why our minds are so powerful because we get to reprogram it. We get to say what goes in. We get to say how it works, what we put it in automation. And that is just powerful. That's
totally.
Yeah.
And so like, I think a lot of times, and I've felt it, and I've had 3 kids, but 2 pregnancies because the first ones were twins, is that fear. I think the fear intensifies the pain.
Yes.
You know, because especially being a first-time mom, you've never gone through childbirth before. So yeah, you've heard things. And like you said before, people kind of set you up to be fearful of it. Okay. Because they tell you all the bad stories. Like, come on, why don't you share good stories? But you hear all the bad stories. And then now you're going into experiencing it and you're like, holy, you know,
that's exactly why one of the tips that I have for childbirth is that do not listen to anybody's story. Like seriously, like in a nice way. If anybody comes to you with any negative story about childbirth, be like, thank you, but I really don't want to hear it. Because the thing is, that is also reprogramming your mind, isn't it? Because that's telling you that that's an experience that somebody had and that's possibility for you. What you want to know is that it went great for somebody. If he should stop and be like, it's a good story. Yes. Okay. Tell me. It's a bad story. I don't want to hear it.
Of course. And also when you're programming your mind for childbirth, you're not only allowing yourself to, you know, breathe through the pain, overcome that, but I think it also allows your body to respond to what's supposed to be happening to deliver that child. So you hear like, yeah, there are people that have birth for many hours. I mean, my mom told me she was 3 days in labor with me. I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm like that, I don't know. But like, you know, I think if we are able to allow our bodies to respond to this natural process, then our body is not going to take so long, you know, be restricted based on our fear and not allowing it to do what it naturally does. Now, you said you only had 3 hours.
Yeah, and exactly. This is the thing, right? We feel like, things are just happening to us. Our experiences are just random. They are not. Our experiences, the things that we see in our lives, the things that happen in our lives, maybe if it's love that you're trying to find, a marriage, whatever, all of that comes from your mind. All right. And it's the same thing with our bodies. Everything that we experience, it comes from that programming up here. And so therefore, when you've already programmed this mind, it's telling all of the neurons and the things, you know, I'm not medical, but whatever, it just takes all the signals around your body to tell the body, relax. When the pain comes, it doesn't mean it's something to fear. It means that your baby is coming. And so you welcome the pain. And I remember that so vividly when my contractions were starting. I was so excited. I was like, yes, baby, it's like at that time, I was so heavy, you know, like the last couple of weeks before the baby comes, it was just so heavy and I was just so tired and I was so ready for her to come. And she was like a week late. So by the time my water bag burst when I was at home, I was so excited. I was like, yes, this baby is coming. This baby is coming. And so we learned like when your water bag bursts, you know, you wait still until you call the doctors and tell them the waters that's gone and everything else. And they will tell you to come in. But the most important thing is to wait until it goes, because then you know it's time. If you go down before when the contractions are coming, most likely they're going to tell you, you're not ready yet, you're not dilated yet. They're going to tell you to go home, or they're going to tell you to stay around. And then while you're sitting around waiting for your back to birth, you're seeing all these things in the hospital. Like, it's pretty obvious you're going to get scared and nervous and like, and antsy, right? But I stayed at home to the very last minute in my bed, relaxing myself, my family. It was like Christmas time. So we were like doing all the Christmassy stuff. So when my water went, I was so ready. I called them in. I took my time. I went in and it was, I'm telling you now, I I said to people, it's not that it wasn't painful. It was painful, obviously. The contractions were coming, but I told you, I walked into that hospital ward and they actually had a wheelchair for me. And I was like, nope, I'm walking. Because I was like, I want this baby to come back. Like, great. And
Yeah.
so this is the thing, like you have a whole different perspective now. It's not like this fear on the contraction, not this fear that your baby is coming. It's more of anticipation, expectation. And it's the same thing with everything else in your life, right? You have to reframe your perspective into the expectation of what's coming.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's funny because fear is very powerful and it really blocks us from being able to move forward. So, from childbirth, not being able to move forward during the labor, but also like in what we're trying to accomplish in our life, our goals. And for you, you had it in your heart to start a business, even though you have a little one at home. And tell us a little bit more about that. Did you have any fears around that first starting out?
Oh my goodness. Like, absolutely. The thing is, right? Like, even before I got pregnant and everything else, like, I always had a desire to be my own boss and to kind of have my own business, right? But what really sped it up when I did that hypnobirthing, it was like I felt so empowered and I saw how powerful my mindset was to be able to do something like birth, something so physical that it drove me even more to like make my business a success. When I started, even before I had Zanny, I started out as a travel life coach because I had a tourism degree and I was like, I want to do something with my experience and I want to be able to work from home so that when I have my child, in full expectation of when I have my child, that I would be a stay-at-home mom with a business, right? And I was fairly successful, but I obviously, when I did hypnobirthing and did transition, because I was like, I want to teach other women to have this wonderful, positive birthing experience. And I tell you no lie, within 6 months, I had written and self-published my own ebook. That was when Zanny was like 6 weeks old because I was like, I want to write down this whole experience. It was so amazing. And so I published my book called The Power of Hypnobirthing, and I shared in that my pregnancy story, the whole hypnobirthing story, my new motherhood journey, all of these things that kind of just packaged because I had such a drive now, just not for my daughter, but because I experienced the power, right? That empowerment from that, what I put into my mind. And I think God really wanted me to transition that experience into the experience of what he was calling me to now as a mom who wants to be able to have a business to support her family, but also to impact the lives of others, right? Kind of just really singled into me that your mindset is everything. And that's what really got me going with terming myself as a mindset coach, because everything in life, business, birthing, motherhood, being a wife, whatever it is you want to do, be a Christian believer, be really have a deeper relationship with God. It is your mindset. It's all about your perspective. It's all about the shifts that you're making in your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions.
Yeah, totally. So what challenges did you face when you started your business? Did you have a lot of challenges with the fact that you had a child at home? Or what was specifically the things that you had to work through?
Oh man, where do you start? Right? Being a business owner. I feel like being a business owner, when you have, again, just thinking back to like experiences that you've seen, people's stories. For me personally, I always go back to this. Like, I had a lot to overcome when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Because for me, I grew up in a home where my dad, both my parents were teachers. They were school teachers, but my dad had inherited like a shop. It's like a village shop, like, we would sell like the usual stuff. So, like in the Caribbean, that's how it is. You have like a little shop in the village that sells like your little groceries and you have like your little alcohol and all of those things. But the thing is that I saw my dad working this 9-to-5 job as a teacher, and then he'd come home and he'd open up the shop, but he wasn't making a lot of money. He was just there with his friends talking. And so for me, I think I kind of have a program in my mind that being an entrepreneur means being broke and just like barely getting by and like, toiling and spending all these hours away from your family and not making any money, So I had to really position myself and I had to really reprogram my mind for a lot more of what it was to what it means to be a successful entrepreneur, you know, and I had to like make sure I have good examples, role models, follow people who were like making it in their businesses and stuff like that. But one of the things as well is we spoke about is fear too. And that's when the Bible speaks about God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And you know what God revealed to me? He was like, fear is such a huge thing. And the Bible speaks about it all the time. But not only that, the Bible says he gives you 3 different spirits to combat one thing.
Yeah.
You need love, you need power, and you need self-discipline. Right? That's to tell you how powerful it is. And that's exactly it. And God downloaded to me my power framework. And in my power framework, I speak about all of these concepts. Love. I speak about self-discipline. I speak about power, right? That power that God has already given to us. Ephesians 3:20. Unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we could ever ask for or imagine, according to that power that is at work within us. What is that power? That power is what you believe, who you believing in, right? Are you believe in God, or you believe in yourself, or you believe in others? You have to draw on that belief, right? And that's where your power comes from. So for me, it's been a really up and down journey, but it's about like really doing the work. It's also working on the limiting beliefs that I've had and being able to learn and know that if I fail, it doesn't mean that I'm a failure, which I've done multiple times. There have been offers that I put out there, but it's not, you know, and I think that has a big thing as well when you're like a person who's like totally achiever. Like that's me. When I put my mind to something, I want to achieve it. So being in that process of knowing that failure doesn't mean that I am a failure.
Right.
I've come to grips with that as well. So yeah, it's been a huge journey for sure.
Yeah, I know. It can be frustrating. It could be exciting. It could be tiresome. It could be exhilarating. Like you have those ups and downs, those different types of feelings. The thing is that what is the common denominator between all those feelings? How we're presenting it in our mind, how we're viewing the world as these things go on in our life.
Yeah.
And so I love it. You've been able to overcome so many things in your life and still push through, even though, you know, you and I both know that we have our little ones that are coming in at times that we're like, oh, this is not the best time, but, you know.
Yeah, again, you know, it is the perspective, isn't it? As we keep saying, like, I feel like with saying that, I know how much I prayed for her, and I know how much I wanted her in my life. And my dream has always been to stay at home with her while I run a business. So for me, my priority is being a stay-at-home mom, and my business comes after. So I said to people, with me from the very beginning, it's always been, how does my business fit into my life and not my life into my business?
Yeah.
You know, so I would always make sure that, and I'm not saying it's easy because she's like a toddler now. Oh my goodness, it's not easy. She's like, you know, she's at that stage now where whenever I'm on the phone, she wants my attention. If I'm trying to do something, that's when she wants to speak to me. And that's not easy. But sometimes you have to learn to just set boundaries. You have to also learn to, you know, just let go of that pressure in your own mind too. Because when you desperately want to do something, they desperately want your attention then. So for me, it's just in that moment, letting go of that feeling that I have to get this done now. I'm more like, okay, let me just step back for a minute, spend some time with her, and then I can get to what I'm doing. I think that's been a really powerful, you know, putting her first. And I think that as moms, put so much pressure on us that, oh, I need to get this done at this time, and I need to get this done.
Right.
But it's all about it being like, you know what? It doesn't have to be done at a particular time, as long as it's done.
Right.
And it's done at any time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Totally. Sometimes we don't think that though. And sometimes we let the frustration overcome us. And that's something that I fell victim to a lot of times, where I was like, okay, Stephanie, why are you getting to this point? Why don't we figure out what the root of the problem is? Mm-hmm. Oh, my kids need a little more attention from me. Okay, let's spend some time with them so that they feel, you know, they feel that love. They feel that they're being comforted. They feel like I'm not neglecting them. And then I can move on to the thing that I'm trying to accomplish, instead of trying to accomplish everything and then having all the frustrations between me and my children in the midst of it, which just causes more calamity and stress and all that. So yeah, love it.
Absolutely. It is. I think, you know what, a lot of us, as I said before, everything that we are experiencing is how we are thinking. It's our thoughts, it's our belief.
Right.
And so therefore we need to understand as well with these children, this is so important, right? Children pick up on energy much quicker than an adult because you know what? They're so innocent, they're so fresh, they're so young. They pick up on energy, not on what you say. It's about what you do with these kids. And so we might be thinking, okay, I am doing this, now I'm doing that, but they're picking up on your anxiety, they're picking up on your fear, they're picking up on all the things that you're processing. And so you have to kind of like be like, you know what? I release that, I surrender that. And that's why I say partnering with God in my business, because that's when I really pray. And I'm like, God, like, you know, come into like, I want your peace right now. Show me how I can do this right now in an easier way. Show me how I can do this in a more joyful way, you know, and you know, just in these little spaces and time is when I do my little prayers. And I'm telling you, it just makes things so much easier. I don't feel like it's all me and it's my burden. It's all, you know, it's me. It's more like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay.
Right.
It's absolutely okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I know we talked a little bit earlier about how you went from, you know, starting your business and trusting God and having a little bit of frustrations in between there to when you signed your first client and, you know, feeling, you know, excited and happy that there was a result from your work. So explain a little bit about that mindset from just, okay, little crickets here and there. I'm trusting God something to happen to bam, you have your first paying client and, you know, that little process there. Because I know we all experience it.
Oh my goodness. Like this is a powerful story as well. I tell people. So when I started my business first in 2017, right? I wasn't pregnant at the time. We had just literally moved from Cyprus to the UK. And at that time, I knew that we were moving to the UK. So I was planning. I was like, okay, you know what? When I move to the UK, I don't want to look for a 9 to 5 job. I want to go into my business. So I was saving and all that. And I knew I wanted to hire a business coach. So I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing on this online space. I'm going to get help. I'm one of these people where if there's an easy route, I'm taking the easy route. If I have the money, I am asking for help. I am not going to be fiddling it out on my own because I'm like, there's just something that I don't. There's always things that we don't know. So I was like, you know what? I want to be successful in this online space. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to save and look for my coach. I found my perfect fit and I hired my coach. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Within, I think, the first month, we'd already crafted my offer. As I said before, I had a tourism degree. I had a degree in tourism. I was a travel agent and I wanted to use that background and that passion I had for travel. And so we came up with a travel life coach because I love, I just spoke about, it's always been about mindset for me and about creating your best lives and all of those things. And so I was able to put those together. Now, within that first couple of weeks, I was like, you know what, God, I remember praying. I was like, God, if this is meant to be, if you want me to be an online coach, if this is something that you desire for me, then, you know, I really want, send me a client, send me a client. So my prayer, I was like, God, send me a client, show me a sign. If this is meant to be, show me a sign, right? And at the time I was reading this book and it's called, what is it called now? I can't even remember its name, but it was a book about money mindset actually. And the woman was speaking about a lot of things. And she's not even Christian, but one of the things she spoke about was forgiveness in the book. And I was reading it and I was like, forgiveness. And so I don't consider myself to be a bitter person. I was like, I don't think I have anybody in my mind for forgiveness. But anyway, I prayed and I was like, God, if there's anybody in my heart that I need to forgive, then just like let me know so I could just release that person. I don't want any hindrances to my blessing and all of those things. And then God dropped somebody in my spirit. And literally, I did not know I had any kind of feelings towards the person, right? It wasn't anybody in my immediate family or anything. It was like one of my in-laws. And so I remember saying like, God, I forgive this person. And there's like a little exercise that the lady had in the book. It was like, and if you heard of this, Huna Lona something method where you just kind of visualize the person. You say like, I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. That kind of thing. And just kind of surrender them to you. And I did the practice. I did it with them. And literally, guys, I don't know. Stephanie, seriously, I don't know. I just felt this list, like this piece of, I don't have anything, personal or anything, but I just felt such a peace when I said the thing. And I was like, I brought it into my Christian mindset. I was like, God, please, I forgive this person. And I just let them go and I surrender and all of that. And the very next day, I signed my first paying client, pay in full. And I knew God was saying that was the exercise that I needed to go through. And it was a forgiveness exercise. And that is mindset as well, because many
Mhm.
times kid that we're holding on to people, maybe even like me, you don't even know you have them in your heart, but
Right.
they hurt you, they done something to you. But you being able to surrender to God is a huge step for you to move forward financially as well in your business. And God showed me that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. That
Yes.
is crazy.
It is.
That's so funny. Like, there's so many things that can hold us back, and we don't
Yeah.
even know it.
We don't even know it. I'm telling you, that's why I said partner with God, because so many times I'm like, God, show me. Because sometimes you don't, even aware, it's subconscious. And as I said before, it could just be hurts, right? It could be somebody just done something to you, you didn't agree with it, and you just hold on to it, right?
Right.
But God is like, just let it go. Surrender it to me. Just leave it there and don't be carrying that around. And you will see how much blessings it's going to be poured onto you. It was just crazy.
Exactly. That's what it's like for me when I tell my story about my weight loss journey, is that like a lot of us, it's not so much about the weight loss. It's not so much about like the whole process. It's more about the journey getting there, which is why so many people put the weight back on, because they're interested more in a quick fix, try to just get that weight off fast, no matter what means. And it's
Yeah.
like someone told you, take this pill or do this workout or eat this food for just 6 weeks and all your weight will be gone. You're like, okay, I can do that for 6 weeks. But
Yeah.
then after the 6 weeks is gone, you're not implementing the same stuff. It's not sustainable. And you didn't do anything for your mindset, inner work, self-discovery during that process. There was no true journey for you, which is why so many people put that weight back on.
And you know what? We could even put all of that into business as well, into childbirth, all of these things, right? Because that's the end result that we want. And it's the same thing as well with business. So many people are telling you, oh, just do this and you'll have a successful business. But yeah, okay, yes, you make the 2,000, yes, you make the 5,000, and then what, right? As you keep saying, have you done the inner work? Have you become that person that you needed to be? Have you become that person who can forgive others, who can handle a team, who can build a team, who can serve your clients when they're not able to pay you or whatever it may be, right? Have you become that person? And that is what I do with it as a mindset coach. I really help you to become that person God is calling you to be, because that character is so much more important than that 2K or that 10K. And don't get me wrong, the money is important. We want the money. We need the money, right? We need to pay our bills. We need to eat. Let's be truthful here.
Right.
But who are you becoming when you're making that money? Don't you want to become the person God desires you to be while you make the money? Or do you want to make the money and then you are like, well, God, what's next? Right? You don't have any substance behind that. And that is so important.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. So true. And it's all about growth and showing up for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, showing up for yourself is huge. And it's sometimes hard to do.
Yes.
Frustrations, getting down, the children. But when you do it, I always compare it to like a workout, right? You don't always want to do the workout, okay? You wake up, you're like, oh, maybe not, whatever, okay, whatever. But then once you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. Like, I feel so much better. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Don't regret it.
That is what I say with my time with God, honestly. And no lie, that is how I used to be the same way. It's like, oh my gosh, dragging your feet. But when I change my perspective, I'll be like, I experience when I spend time with God, how much more peaceful and joyful and happy I am. I'm like, I'm not forfeiting that. Like, I'm starting my day with the Lord. And that is how I see it as well. And even sometimes I don't get to do it in the morning, I make sure I find some time during the day, because I know that if I don't do it, I'm going to be so grumpy. I'm going to be so like such mood swings. I'm like, all over the place. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So is there anything that you'd like to share further, or maybe a word of advice to those that are listening that may be in the same situation as you were, whether it be hypnobirthing or starting their first business? Hey, that's birthing too. You're birthing your own business.
I love that. I said that. I did an interview ages ago when I said that same thing. I was like, you know what? I feel like business is just like birthing. You like when you're pregnant, you have to go through 9 months of carrying that baby. Many of us have these desires and these dreams for business ownership, for impact and everything, and we're carrying that around. And then we have to birth that dream, that business, that idea, right? And it's the same exact thing with childbirth. You have to prepare. You have to be able to get into that space where you know that what you're birthing is so important, is so powerful, is so precious that you have to spend that time preparing yourself for what's to come, right? So you have to prepare for a month to become a mother. And I don't agree with people who just think that can wing it. Like I am a person, I'm not a big planner, honestly. I'm the most spontaneous person you could find. But when it comes to important things like, my family, my health, my well-being, stuff like that, I want to get support with that. And I think my biggest advice would be get support. Don't think that you have to do life, you have to do business, you have to do birthing, whatever it is, weight loss on your own. I feel like if God has created us for community, that's why he sent out his disciples 2 by 2. He never said, Peter, you go by yourself, John, you go over here. They were always going in twos, right? They were always going in the community because Jesus knew the power of community. Not Jesus knew the power of support. We need each other. And it could be so much more easier if you have somebody who can show you, who can help you, who have been there before. Many of us are so caught up in what we don't have or what we think we don't have, and we're not open to see what we do have and what we can put to use and what we can be grateful for. So I think what I really want to leave with you guys is to one, believe in yourself, believe that what God has called you to is for you. You're capable of it. He's already equipped you, as in you have everything within you already. But also, there are things that you will need to learn. There are things that you will need to reprogram. There are things that you will need to rewire and things that you do need to learn. We all need to learn. And so get support if you need it. Like, don't feel bad because you need to get help or whatever it may be. Support is the one thing that's going to take you faster, quicker, and it's going to give you that help and that encouragement that you need for your journey.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I said it before, we weren't meant to do life alone.
Exactly. Yeah. And so many of us struggle. Like I remember when God dropped that hypnobirth, and I was like, I'm going to do that because you know what? I never believed once in my life that God wanted us to have difficult pregnancies and difficult childbirth, that we have to be screaming our heads off and all of these things. I just knew deep down that there had to be another way. And I knew that, and that's why God said that to me, because he was like, there's no way. You can do it this way. And I was like, yes, please.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. So before we end today, I'd love to give you an opportunity to share with everyone how they can follow you or maybe find out more information about your coaching services and what exactly you offer.
Yes, absolutely. So as I said before at the beginning, I term myself a Christian mindset coach. And what I'm doing now is I'm helping first-time moms to leave their 9 to 5 and to create the first 2K online with ease and joy by partnering with the Lord, right? And I do that through my 6 months one-to-one program called Empowered to Impact. I also have my own podcast called Joyfully Empowered Podcast to be found on Spotify and Apple. We have quite a few interviews. Stephanie herself is already on there.
Yeah.
As one of my guest hosts there. So I do speak on that podcast. I speak about mindset. I speak about motherhood, business, faith, all the things. And I really try to be as authentic and real as possible. So you can definitely check that out. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Zanny B. Davis. And that's where you can get up-to-date information and all those things. And I have a really exciting Black Friday sale coming up. If you're listening to this before or after Black Friday, come and check it out there. You can see that we have so much there to offer to you as well.
Awesome. Very excited about that. That is the end of today's episode, which was fire. I loved every bit of it. Thank you so much for coming on and being a guest today, Zanny. It was a pleasure. And let's continue to work on our mindset every day, shaping our perspective and living our best selves, because we have a purpose in this life and we need to step into that. So I encourage you, as you continue to listen to each episode, to really put that as a priority in your life. All right, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.